Welcome to Alpha Wolf Trading. Did you know that there's over 12,000 stocks or companies that trade on the OTC? Between the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, you have over 7,000 companies. But us as retail investors, we wouldn't know that unless we were researching. Because why? Wall Street focuses on the elite, the big companies. And where the retail investor has their advantage is in small and micro-cap stocks. Why? Because you have the opportunity to speak directly with leadership. That is what this is all about here at Alpha Wolf Trading. We're trying to find the hidden gems, and we interview the executive teams of companies that we think meet the parameters to be those hidden gems. I also want to make sure you understand that this is not a paid-for promotion. I collect no compensation for the interviews I do here. These companies that I interview have been identified as potential opportunities for me and the members of Alpha Wolf Trading to receive a higher than average return on our investment. These companies I have identified either because of a technical setup on a chart, a fundamental change within the organization, new management team, new products, all kinds of different things that actually lead me here. But what do I think is the most important? Leadership. And that is why I do these interviews. I want to understand what drives the person that is leading the charge. I want to feel their passion. I want to understand their vision and the strategy that they're going to use to achieve success. That is what these interviews are for. I want to understand the share structure and the cap table, the size of the TAM, the total addressable market. This is the opportunity to learn all of those things. So sit back and enjoy. And if you learn anything from today's interview, do us a favor. Subscribe to the Alpha Wolf Trading YouTube channel. Hey there, everybody. It's Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with another CEO interview. This one is close to home for me out of Las Vegas, and just met Shannon probably about 3 weeks ago. Shannon Wilkinson from Tego Cyber, Inc. Shannon, thanks for coming in and doing this interview.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate you having me.
All right. So cybersecurity, and look, it's a hot button. It's definitely a growth spot, and I don't think it's ever going to go away. I think there's always going to be a need for cybersecurity. My question to you would be, and maybe you can give us a little bit of background on you, how you got here, right? And Tego, give us a little background on Tego and what differentiates you from all of the other cybersecurity companies that are out there.
Sure. So I guess I'll start with myself. I'm like a lot of people in cybersecurity is I didn't study it in the university. It didn't really exist when I was going through like university and starting my career. I actually started my career off as a software developer and then fell into cybersecurity by building basically software platforms for cybersecurity purposes and found a real passion for it. So I would say this is my kind of second rodeo in the cybersecurity space. I co-founded another cybersecurity company with my husband back in 2015, focused on providing managed services for small to medium businesses. We found with SMBs, there was a lot of education that went on in trying to convince them that they needed cybersecurity protection. So when we were approached actually to be acquired and exit the company, we took that opportunity. But I enjoyed the entrepreneurial journey so much. I decided, hey, I want to do this again, but focus on the enterprise. So my husband and I co-founded Tego in September of 2019 with the idea that we would focus on the enterprise. And taking a lot of the stuff that we learned in our previous company around threat intelligence and providing those type of solutions, like I said, for the enterprise who you don't have to usually convince too hard that they need to invest in cybersecurity. because it is a major business risk. I mean, you see today cyber attacks taking down organizations. They're losing millions of dollars, every hour that they're down and their systems aren't accessible. So it's not anything that is going to go anywhere soon. And like there's all sorts of statistics about through the pandemic and the work from home phase, like there was like a 600% increase or something like that in cybercrime during the pandemic. So it's not going anywhere. It's just growing as a problem. But what we did with Tego, well, before I get into Tego, I should probably give a background on my husband as well, since he's co-founder, and he's a really important part of Tego, not just being my husband, but Troy is actually the CISO for Fortune 300. So he gives so much insight into the cybersecurity industry, shortcomings of solutions, and the frustrations of his security operations team. So it's great, invaluable of having somebody like that in the company that can give that type of insights. And we have an advisory board of also other CISOs, as well as managed security service providers that are also giving us insights into the industry. So we've got a really great team behind Tego. But so that's a little bit about me and Troy. And then, about the company, like I said, we focus on the threat intelligence space, but which is an emerging market within cybersecurity. There are a lot of vendors, almost too many vendors when you get into like the antivirus or the endpoint detection EDR solutions. Like we talked about, you got your CrowdStrike, your SentinelOnes, those major players. With firewalls, you have the Palo Altos, the Fortinets of the world. But within threat intelligence and threat correlation, there's actually not a lot of companies focused on that, particularly in the public market. So it's almost a little bit still a greenfield area of cybersecurity. And when I talk about threat intelligence and threat correlation, for those that aren't familiar with the industry, threat intelligence is basically just a bunch of data about what we know is bad. So it's things like, domains like google.com, or it's URLs like google.com/news or something like that, where you go to a website, look for information. It's IP addresses, and it's what is known as file hashes, which are like signatures for every single file on your computer. Those, when they're malicious, turn into what's known as an indicator of compromise, or IOC. And you can basically take those IOCs and create a database, and that becomes threat intelligence. So organizations will pay threat intelligence providers to get access to that data. At Tego, we bring in about 45 different sources of threat intelligence into our backend, bringing it from a variety of free sources on the internet, as well as we pay a lot of other threat intelligence providers for their data. We also send it through an enrichment process, because one of the frustrations that we saw in the industry was that a lot of those providers were just saying, here's 100,000 IP addresses that are bad. And that's all the information they gave the customers. The problem with that was the security analysts would have to go and say, okay, this is bad, but why is it bad? Why do I need to be concerned about it? So now they're having to go out to the internet and research and figure out why it's bad. And, do I need to be concerned about this? So with what Tego did is, not only are we enriching the threat intelligence so that we can provide what we call the who, what, when, where, how of the threats, but also we said, what, the analysts are so overloaded with what they're doing on a daily basis, putting out fires, chasing down, things that have snuck past their defenses, that we're like, why don't we try to make it easier for them and operationalize the threat intelligence, or put it to work for the customers, so we don't just have to give them the data, but the data will already be working for them. So we're building what we call threat correlation engines, or essentially they're applications that sit on top of the security tools that the analysts are using on a daily basis, and automating the correlation or the matching of those IOCs with the data in their environment, so that we're able to say, hey, here's 5, 10, 50 computers in your environment that are, have malware on them, or that are talking to, an IP address in one of the countries, that is attacking organizations, and basically say, here are the things that you need to be concerned about in your environment, and here's all the computers. So essentially, we're putting the data to work for the customers, and then giving their analysts a prioritized list of everything that's made it past their defenses, as well as integrating fully into the tools that they're already using, so they're not having to go out to a third-party platform or do anything. We actually just sit on top of the tool that they're already using. So the tools that I'm talking about that they use on a daily basis are typically called SIM platforms. SIM, SIEM, stands for Security Information Event Monitoring systems. So that would be like a Splunk or an Elastic or those type of platforms. And then more recently, now there's the data warehousing or data lake. So that's your, Amazon, your Databricks, your Snowflakes, those type organizations. So we sit on top of those type of platforms, and then bring not only the threat intelligence, but the autonomous engine that goes and finds the matches in the customer's data versus all the threat intelligence, all the IOCs that we're collecting.
So,
hopefully that's not too technical. Just a high level view. I'm a bit of a geek, so being a software developer, I can kind of go on a diatribe, but
so I'm real clear here. I mean, if I can't remember what it was I read a while back, but it was, some of these bad guys will have their software dormant within your system, just sitting there, right? And at some point in the future, they'll trigger it, and then it comes on. So it's actually been sitting in your system for a long period. Your service would identify that threat before, or feasibly would identify that threat before it actually got activated.
Right. And that is one of the unique values that Tego provides to clients, is we do something called recursive searches. So with some organizations, when they get threat intelligence, they say, great, I'm going to block, these IP addresses in my firewall. I'm never going to let the bad guys into my environment. Problem is, like you said, they may have been in your environment, 2 weeks ago or 3 months ago. So you have to take a look backwards in time when the threat intelligence has been weaponized. So, when were the threat actors using that IP address? So we take a look back 30, 60, 90, even 180 days within the customer's environment, to say, hey, were the bad guys ever in your environment while this was being used by them? And then we alert the Security Operations Center. And a good example of that was, the FBI and the US government is doing a great job in sharing intelligence with organizations now. So they're putting out advisories about, here's the threat actor group, and here are the IOCs that they're using. We're looking at those, we're adding those to our threat intelligence database to scan our customers' environments and say, hey, the FBI just published an advisory, here's the IOCs, were they in your environment? And last year, the FBI published an advisory, or I think it was CISA actually published an advisory about a group called Alpha V or Black Hat. They're a ransomware group. Those indicators of compromise were added to our threat intelligence database. We started those recursive searches with our autonomous threat correlation engine. And then we found in one customer's environment 5 servers that had been infected. And we're talking to some of the IP addresses of the Black Cat group. And we alerted their security operations centers. They isolated them, launched an investigation, found first stage ransomware and communications beacons on them. But the thing is that Tego identified the threat before Black Cat had a chance to launch their attack. So yeah, they were infected, and yeah, they got past their defenses, but because we detected it so quickly and did that recursive search, they were able to kick them out before they had a chance to launch an attack.
And that's the critical piece right there, right?
Right. Yeah.
All right. So how long has Tego been established?
We started the company in September of 2019, spent about 2.5 years doing research and development. So building the platform, the backend threat intelligence platform, our first integration to the Splunk SIM platform, which was the first thing that we launched. Spent some time beta testing, going through additional development, making sure that we were able to do our correlation very, very quickly. So that's another thing, a consideration that Tego has taken into account, is that we're sifting through massive amounts of data. If you think about, every keystroke, everything that you do on your computer is generating, log data that goes into the SIM platform for an organization. That's a lot of data if you're a large organization. So we had to make sure that we're able to search through the data very quickly and very efficiently, so that we didn't have a negative impact on the customer's environment. So we're able to basically search through billions of records in just a couple of minutes within customers' environments, which is also a major differentiator for Tego, is the speed in which we're able to do the correlation.
So who are your name a major customer that you have right now presently?
Unfortunately, because we are a cybersecurity company, we're not at liberty to discuss any of our customers.
It's one of those things where you can tell me, but you'd have to kill me thing.
Yeah, exactly. Typically, we do have to sign NDAs with our customers when engaging conversations with them and their security operations team. And I would say that's kind of one of the challenges. I do believe that we have a strategic partner that is going to let us put out some news about the partnership with them and the type of customers that we're serving with them. That will probably be coming out in the next month or so.
Okay,
but yeah, it's unfortunate,
It's all right. It's a clandestine operation. I get it. I mean,
yeah.
actually.
Yeah, but to give you an idea of the customers that we work with, so we are working with some of the largest of organizations, the Fortune 500s. Our target market is really the Fortune 2000. So those large organizations that have, a mature security operations center that is looking for kind of a force multiplier for their team, a way to do more with less and, more efficiently as well. And just having, it's almost like having a security analyst on your team that never sleeps, never takes a vacation or anything like that. We're just always running in the background, always looking for, not only what are the newest threats, but, what has happened in the past. So we have another case where, do you remember the WannaCry ransomware infection back in 2017? It hit Europe really, really bad. I think it started in the Ukraine, hit like the UK's health organization really hard.
I don't recall it, but carry,
Okay, all right, yeah. So WannaCry, 2017. It was a big ransomware infection that hit the entire world basically. And we actually had this year in 2023, a Fortune 500 organization that got a WannaCry infection because somebody plugged in some old Windows 7 computers into the network. They had been offline for about 2 years. They thought they were decommissioned. They were just sitting behind a TV somewhere, got plugged in, had WannaCry installed on them. And basically, they have the best EDR solutions. They have the best firewalls, the vulnerability scanning software. None of those softwares stop the WannaCry from reaching out to a command and control server. But what Tego did is that we saw traffic in their firewall logs of, hey, you've got WannaCry. We alerted their security operations center. They were able to go find the two devices, pull them offline, and start their investigation. Who the heck plugged these back in? So.
All right. So right now, how are you sitting on cash?
So we are actually in a fundraising round right now. So we are okay on cash, but in order to really grow our sales and marketing efforts to take Tego to the next level, kind of move from the whole, R&D phase into real commercialization, we are raising money right now. We're doing a private placement, mostly with friends and family and, private high net worth individuals. So we're doing that now to really heavily invest in our sales and marketing efforts. We just brought on a new chief revenue officer, Kirk Horton, about 45 days ago. He is just hit the ground running. We're having all sorts of strategic discussions with potential partners, a lot of Fortune 500 clients. So he's hit the ground running and is really going to help Tego go to the next level in commercialization. One of the nice things about Tego being that we are software as a service, or SaaS, no hardware involved. We're really easily deployment to the customer, but it also doesn't take us too much to be profitable. We only need to bring on about 40 customers onto the platform in order to be profitable. And we're hoping to do that within the next 12 to 18 months.
That's 12 to 18 months. So how many customers are you sitting at right now?
So we're sitting at one signed contract, a whole bunch of proof of values. So that's one of the reasons of bringing Kirk on is to move those contracts from proof of value into actually getting a contract signed.
Okay. Listen, that's what we all have to start somewhere.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
People in companies just don't come out and start at the top. That's usually not the way it works, right?
Yeah.
So it takes some time. And why I like the small and micro cap space is they're not the big companies that have already made those mammoth runs. I'd like to find those companies before they make the mammoth runs, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
and we are, I think that's one of the nice things about Tego is that, we're kind of, I would say, a little bit undiscovered, and we're about to start our run and start the process of going to profitability and then growing the company into, multiple millions in annual recurring revenue. So
how many shares do you have outstanding, fully diluted?
We are just a little over 50 million, I believe. And that's with warrants and everything like that we do have.
Okay, so just over 50 million, 12 to 18 months, you get 40 customers plus, and you are cash flow break even, or you're profitable?
We're profitable.
You're profitable. Okay. And I would imagine being software as a service, although your product constantly has to be updated, right? I mean, it's just, you constantly have to be adding more data to your product.
Yeah, so we have a lot of, I would say, advanced algorithms. Our threat intelligence platform is always bringing in new data that goes to the customers, powers the threat correlation engine. Of course, the buzzwords, yes, there is machine learning, certain portions of AI built into our backend threat intelligence platform. We're also looking, because AI is really kind of a buzzword now, how do we put that on our front end, but do it responsibly? Because, with artificial intelligence, depending on how you implement it, it can be, wildly helpful, or it could just be a major distraction and wildly inaccurate. So we're trying to figure out how can we bring, AI into our platform, but do it in a responsible manner.
So you're a computer person, right?
Yes.
You've probably seen some of those movies where, computers figure out that humans pretty much suck. We're like a bacteria and decide to wipe us out, right?
So have you heard, going down, this is a fascinating topic, but have you ever heard of Chaos GPT?
If I ever what now?
It's called Chaos GPT, I think.
No, I haven't.
So basically somebody created an AI interface and gave it kind of the free will to destroy humanity. And I think you can follow it on Twitter and follow its musings on how basically it's going to take over the world and humans suck and that type of thing, it's very Terminator.
I mean, I can actually see it. I mean, it makes sense to me, right? I mean,
yeah.
What are the world's problems?
James Cameron is like, hey, I told you guys about the dangers of AI in '84. What are you doing?
So I mean, it's a little scary, but I also see what technology does for humanity, right? I mean,
right.
We have had some incredible advancements, and I think we will continue to have those advancements. Hopefully, maybe someday cancer will be cured.
Mhm.
right? All of these things, all of these good possible things. There's always bad possibilities too, right? There's always
Yeah,
possibility of a
it
bad
depends on how
outcome.
you, yeah, how you implement it, how you use it, what
Right.
guardrails you put around it.
So you've got, how many employees do you have currently?
So we're only 6 full-time employees, but if you take in all the contractors and people that are on the team, we're about 20.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. And so the way I view it is you're just getting started here, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Now, what would be, I guess, the moat that would protect you from somebody else like Palo Alto deciding to do, they want to do what you're going to do, right?
Mhm.
What's what stops them from doing what you're doing, or what kind of protection do you have from competition? Is there a proprietary product that you have? Do you have the patents on anything? I mean, walk me through it.
Yeah, so there's a bit of so we don't have any patents or anything, because one of the dangers of applying for patents is you basically tell people how you built it, and they can make
Right.
a small tweak and say, I built a better mousetrap and now it's mine. So part of the protection that we have is that our backend threat intelligence platform that's doing all the autonomous collection of data and everything like that, nobody actually sees what's going on in the backend. They're just seeing the end result of the data. So we have a bit of protection in that, and nobody knows what we're doing in the backend of our platform. Another way that we are a bit protected is that we've been at this since 2019. Um, yes, one of those big organizations can come in and say, I'm going to throw, $250 million at this problem. But wouldn't it be easier for them, or at least we say, wouldn't it be easier for them if they just said, Tego, hey, you're so far in, what you've done that maybe an acquisition makes sense or something like that. Because the threat intelligence space and the correlation space, it is a little bit of a speciality. So, you need to know kind of what you're doing, and how to collect the data, and not all data is created equally, so we go through a pretty stringent vetting process for the data that we're providing to our customers. And then of course, you might know your IP address on your computer can change. Let's say your internet service provider has an outage. Likely when it comes back online, your IP address may have changed. So, what is bad today may not necessarily be bad in a week or 6 months or 2 years. So it's important as well. And we take steps through a lot of our algorithms to do what we call aging of our threat intelligence. So making sure that we're providing high fidelity or accurate information and data to our customers. So, um, that's kind of, I guess, some of the things that makes Tego a little bit different. And then, why we would be a bit protected, and from a competitor saying, hey, I'm just going to build this. Well, they're probably going to have to throw a massive amount of money at it, and then find the people that have those, specialized skills and threat intelligence collection, as well as, how do you build these incredibly fast performing correlation searches to search through, so much data efficiently.
So your service, I would imagine the margins, software as a service, the margins are probably pretty good, right?
About 85%. Yeah. Yeah. So it doesn't, and that's the nice thing about, these platforms and the cloud now, is that, you can scale very, very quickly, and, you don't have exponential cost for each customer acquisition. So, it doesn't take very much. Our biggest cost at Tego is, I would say, the human capital. It's, the specialized software developers or threat intelligence analysts, those type of, people with specialized skills that we need on our team.
Okay. Marketing is probably going to be a pretty good cost at some point, right? I mean, that's where
Yes.
most of your cost is going to come from, is just trying to get awareness for your company and the product,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
But once you start landing some of those recognizable companies, I think that becomes it's much easier, right? Getting the first
Yes.
10 customers is really tough. But
Right.
then getting the next 40 is, it gets easier every time, right?
Right. Yeah,
Because
and then working with some of those, first customers as well, like, hey, can we give you a discount if you're willing to, disclose that you are working with us, or maybe write a case study with us on, the value that you see in Tego. So, kind of trying to create those customer champions in the first customers that we're working with to go out and spread the word about Tego.
acquisition is always, with a company like yours, that's always one of the things that I think, I mean, I would never buy a company with the intent that, I'm hoping they're going to get acquired by somebody. I mean,
Right.
it would be nice if it happens, right, at a good valuation, but it's not
Right.
what I would, I have to make sure that this is sustainable all by itself, right?
Mhm.
Uh, are there any potential partnerships, or are there any discussions of potential partnerships with any other key players in the cyberspace, or is it still too early for that?
No, there are quite a few discussions on partnerships with other companies. One of the things, because we are building on top of other cybersecurity tools, we are having discussions with those organizations that we're building on top of for strategic partnerships, co-marketing efforts. So, there'll be some news coming out here in the near future about some of those partnerships, and kind of strategy going forward with those companies.
Right. So those things could act as catalysts, right?
Yes. No,
So
absolutely.
it's an OTC stock, and OTC is tough. It is a very, it makes it for thinly traded, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
And there's a reason for that is when we IPO'd, we basically IPO'd with friends and family behind us. So they're in it for the long run. So a majority of our shareholders are holding on to their shares, hoping for an uplift to the NASDAQ, and seeing the company be wildly successful. So it's a nice thing, but yeah, not a lot of liquidity all the time.
right, and that's okay, right? I mean, like I said, the hardest part is finding the good companies that you can have a good product or service. If you don't have good leadership, I think you have the odds stacked against you, right?
No, absolutely.
And and if you're passionate about what you're doing, and and you have a good product that nobody else has,
Yeah. Mhm.
I mean, it all comes down to hard work, right?
Yeah. No,
And
absolutely. And I have to say too, along those lines, the team is a differentiator for Tego too. I mean, if you look at the folks that we're working with that have come on board because they believe in what we're doing, from Kirk, our new CRO, in 20 years as a sales leader. We have Alyssa Knight, a reformed hacker from the U.S. intelligence services, as well as, a cybersecurity influencer. She's our chief marketing officer. Melissa Knight used to build security operations centers for the Hergovich Group. We're just Troy and Chris White, our board members, our advisory board members. I mean, there's a lot of really high profile, amazing people that have gotten behind Tego and said, I believe in what you're doing. I want to be involved. So I'm very, very thankful that all of them have come to support us and joined us in some capacity. So yeah,
now,
team absolutely makes a difference.
so do you have, just talking about this, I mean, do you have, or is at some point, do you have to have like a call center with people on 24/7, or is that something that doesn't have to happen with you guys?
For us, probably not. We do offer, customer support or technical support for our customers. But because we're just in the detection space, we're not actually in the incident response or remediation space. We actually leave that to our strategic partners. We won't really have customers calling us in the middle of the night needing assistance. They would be reaching out to our strategic partners that provide professional services to assist them.
Okay. I mean, it's an early story, but I like being early. I have a curse for being early, but eventually, good stories always wind up rising to the top. I mean, what I like about this is you're local, Las Vegas, right? So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. What'd you think of the Sphere the other day?
Oh, the Sphere is so awesome. I mean, yeah, the NBA and then what they did for the 4th of July is so cool. We're still trying to figure out though. We saw an image where it was like the blue window screen of the blue screen of death, where it was
Yeah.
like, sorry, something gone wrong. We don't know if that was actually like a joke that they put on the Sphere or if somebody photoshopped it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen that image, but it's like, yeah,
Oh, what is the image again?
It's the when there's a problem on your Windows computer and it goes to what is called the blue screen of death, is like, sorry, something went wrong with that little frowny face.
Yeah.
There's an image circulating on social media of that on the Sphere.
Oh,
But
really?
I don't know if it's real or if somebody photoshopped it, but I thought it was kind of funny.
That's funny. So I got to tell you, I just, when I saw that thing, it was like for the 4th of July, it was like, I mean, that is the most amazing thing I think I've ever seen in my life, right? I mean,
Yeah, it was so cool.
it's so cool. But I was thinking, I have thought, well, boy, if that thing ever gets hacked, that could be embarrassing, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
all right, Shannon, listen, what I want to do is I want to get your story out there, get people to start following you. What I think is interesting about, and you're probably not going to know what I'm talking about at this point in time, but there are technicals and then there's fundamentals, right? And right now, you're in the early stages of the fundamentals. We'll see how that develops. The technicals, on the other hand, kind of an interesting pattern, actually, because a lot of stocks don't look like this chart, especially small and micro cap, right? They're in a downtrend. They've been in a downtrend for about 24 months, and it's been a painful ride.
Right.
If you need capital, that is the biggest concern. That is the biggest concern in this environment because you have a rising interest rate with the Feds, right? And they're trying to slow the economy down. And typically when that happens, tech companies and in general have a hard time, right? So
no, absolutely.
What's interesting, you had a little spike here back in what was that? In March. What was the spike in March from? You know?
I'm trying to think. It may have been some news about either folks coming on board or maybe one of our integrations that we launched. I'm not quite sure.
Okay. So you can go to tegocyber.com, right? And check out what the product is. And shortly or soon, you're going to have an IR alert service at some point.
Yeah, we're redoing that part of our website right now. So hopefully launched in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. And I think this is a story that's worth keeping an eye on because data, as I know it, has become the most valuable commodity on the planet.
Yeah, they say data is the new oil.
Yeah, just surpassed oil, right? And you're collecting a whole bunch of it.
Yes. And then putting it to work.
and putting it to good use, right? So I think this is an interesting story. I want to stay when do you think you might have a decent catalyst or an interesting news announcement?
Next week.
Oh, next week.
Yeah.
Well, that would be a little fast.
Next week, and then probably about 2 weeks after that as well.
About 2 weeks after that as well.
There's lots of exciting stuff coming in the near future.
Okay. Well, look, this is the introduction. Tego, I would suggest, I don't tell anybody what to buy or what to sell. What I would suggest is put this one on your radar, right? It's TGCB is the ticker symbol. It's OTC right now. But
put it on your radar, put it on your watch list, and when they get their IR set up, sign up for their email alert service. That way you can stay on top of what's happening at Tego, because I think this one's going to surprise people. All right, Shannon, thank you so much for coming in and doing this.
Absolutely.
And we will do a follow-up when you think maybe this is something that we want to make sure everybody knows.
Okay.
Sound good?
No, sounds great. Thanks.
All right, Shannon, hold on one second. I'm going to shut this off.
Hey there, folks. Thanks for tuning in to yet another CEO interview here at Alpha Wolf Trading. Today we had Tego Cyber Inc. Shannon Wilkinson, CEO. Ticker symbol TGCB. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor. Give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, why not give us a follow? Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Trading wishes you the very best of success.